Well, hey, to all you cool cats and kittens, this is obviously your host, Mr. Hi. And don't worry, I am not trying to interrupt your show. This is just a teaser, a trailer, to talk about my show, The Anytime Show. Have you seen it yet? I hope so. If not, what are you waiting for? Go on and find my show, The Anytime Show with Mr. Hi. See you all soon. And subscribed. Hey, are you listening to me? You better have subscribed to my channel, youtube.com/Hollywood Insider TV. Yep. This is your host, Pritan Ambroase. Today's episode is a special episode as we discuss the movie Call Me By Your Name, directed by Luca Guadagnino, starring Armie as Oliver and Timothee Chalamet as Elio, on James Ivory's script and Andre Aciman's novel. I have my two guests with me. They've been on the channel before. I have Leena and Lisha. Hi, Leena.
Hello.
Hi, Lisha.
Hey.
So the three of us have shared quite a few movies together, and we've known each other for quite a while. So there's a certain kind of chemistry that the three of us have that cannot be replicated. So I thought for this movie in particular, it might be right to have both of them with me on this. Call Me By Your Name is undescribable. There's a beautiful Rumi poem that I would like to attribute to Call Me By Your Name, and that poem is between the realms, away from the realms of right and wrong, there is a land, I will meet you there. And I think that's what describes this movie. This movie is raw. This movie is an experience. It's not just a movie. This movie is something that almost defines, almost like the word romance. When you say romance, you should show this movie, and that's what it perfectly describes. And every time I watch it, I'm even more so enthralled by it. And now that there is word that Call Me By Your Name 2 is coming out or going to be filmed soon, I thought it might be a great idea to, debrief ourselves and get an insightful analysis into it. Leena and Lisha and I have known each other for quite a while. So even as a teenager, before having directed my movies and before being the CEO of Hollywood Insider, I've always been a movie buff, and these two people I tortured with my, meaningful movie choices.
Fair to say that.
Right. There were other movies that I forced them to sit through. I think they enjoyed that other movie, the Brazilian one as well. But then I think they hated La Vie en Rose with Marion Cotillard.
We just need to give it another chance.
Hate is a strong word. It was also very late at night when we watched it.
Right, so it was quite a hard watch, and I remember Leena saying, why does she look so old? And I remember Lisha saying, because she's at a hard time.
Okay,
It
well,
was the
that's
timing.
a great
It was the timing
introduction.
of
Now
it.
people are going to want to listen to our opinion, aren't they?
Yeah, no, but the other movie that I showed to you guys, the My Beautiful Something Else, I forgot the name of it. You guys quite enjoyed it. So even at that age, and then I remember telling the both of you, do not tell anyone I suggested this movie to you people. Just tell them to watch it. Okay, so let's get back to Call Me By Your Name. Let's start with Lisha. Give us a spiel of what you think about Call Me By Your Name.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to really put into words. I think this film is all the feels, as they say. I think right from the kind of the charming backdrop to the beautiful sort of soundtrack and the scenes to the expressions, the narrative, it's just so poetic and just so beautiful. It's literally hooks you from the start to the end. And I think there's quite a turmoil of emotions A lot of it, which I found I could relate to as well. Just kind of the excitement of a little summer romance, the intensity of it and everything. And of course, sadness there too. It was just such 2.5 hours or around that.
It was 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah, of pure emotion. Yeah.
Right. What about you, Leena? What did you think?
Well, for me as well, I mean, just as Lisha said, it's such a beautiful, poetic film. And it's just got everything. It's like almost, I've got no words to describe it, but it just takes you through so many different emotions, like the heartbreak, sorrow, joy, lust. And I think I may have mentioned it too earlier. Like, this is like my favorite romantic film ever. This is like my best film. And just like, why haven't I watched it again like sooner? Because I know the first time I watched it I cried and I really, really loved it, and I like stalked them on YouTube and watched like all their interviews and things. And then watching it the second time round, like the stuff that I'd missed as well, like I think I'm going to be watching it again tomorrow. So that's how much I love it. It's just so beautiful.
Right. For me, it holds a very special meaning just because of the storyline, the director, the actors, the writer, the novelist. This movie to me, again, like I said, just defines romance. Yes, it was a sad ending. It didn't get a happy ending. But then not all of our romances do.
Yeah.
And I've lived in a house like that in Italy. I've lived in Italy. I've lazed around in meadows like that where Elio says, this is my place. I had a place like that in Florence. I've had those lazy days in Florence, just walking around, with someone I love, and it just tugged at each and every single heartstring. I think Andre Aciman's story, James Ivory's script, Luca Guadagnino's direction, Armie Hammer's Oliver, Timothee Chalamet's Elio. It was a conspiracy carried out by the universe to bring us Call Me By Your Name. Even a slight part of the conspiracy had not worked, then we would not have had Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah.
That's how special I find it.
Yeah, it's just such an outstanding chemistry, like you say, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it was probably one of the first times I've seen a film that kind of just brought like romance, regardless of whether it's homosexual relationships you're into or heterosexual relationships. None of that really mattered. It was just about love and pure romance, and it was just so
a
beautiful.
human connection. Yeah.
Right. There was not a single, like you exactly put it so well, there is no sexuality to this movie. It's about love, it's about romance, Yes, it is two men that are fully, passionately in love with each other. And it's so normal. It's almost like, what I love about the movie is the linear story structure. But what I mean by that is that there are no other storylines apart from these two men.
Yeah.
And there is not a single part of the movie that is challenging that. The parents are in agreement. The setting is in agreement. Everything, there's no one dying. There's no one else that's angry. It's just about the love.
Yeah.
It just
There's no
flows.
distractions.
The love just keeps flowing like the river.
Absolutely. And I just always found myself looking for them in the scenes, like, where are they? Because they're in like the center, like literally gravitate towards these two characters.
Yeah, and not only where are they, but what are they doing with their eyes
Yeah.
now? Are the mom and dad's eyes, are they looking at the paper or are they looking at them? Then I would catch the mother actually pretending to look at the paper, but her eyes would be at Elio and Oliver.
Yeah,
because
like,
she knows.
Breakfast
Yeah.
I feel
like
scenes
she
are some of my
knows.
favorites.
Yeah. The thing is, like, when he asks his dad, does mom know? He says, I don't think she does. But I always felt throughout the film that she actually did.
She
and
did.
She
I thought she was the first
and
one
she
to
wanted
say.
them to have that time together. And she even kind of said, I think he
Yeah.
likes you. Like, so, yeah, I just felt like she just understood him. And the father did as well. And it's just, it's so beautiful to see. Yeah.
Right. And not only that, she, even in the end, when the call comes, he goes, they know about us, right? So they always knew. And what I love about the movie is that, yes, there are many close-ups, but there are also these wide-angle shots where Elio and Timothy are just a small part of the screen. Yet you're so transfixed on what might they possibly be doing at that moment, far away from the camera. The camera almost became irrelevant. right? Again, when most people talk about chemistry, they talk about the lead actor's chemistry or the other actor's chemistry. But here, the chemistry was about the two actors and the director and the cameraman, as well as the story writer. It was the chemistry that was shared by all of them at the same time. And that's what I find so shockingly beautiful, is that chemistry. And like we said, I always wanted to look at where everyone's eyes were. Like, who knew? Like, almost like in a real life setting, like you're always trying to figure out what are people trying to say without words. And this movie was so nuanced and nothing was missing. I watched it in the theater on the big screen in Los Angeles when it first came out in 2017. And I remember the entire theater roaring, saying, "She knows," when the mother looked.
Yeah. There's literally, beautiful. You just can't fault it, can you? Yeah, everything's just perfect.
The breakfast scenes, like I just wanted to be sat there in that sunny
with them
breakfast table with them.
Right.
It's just like you say, the wandering eyes, the kind of the knowing expressions, all of that just really, really like playful, and like quite like lighthearted, but emotions, deep at the same time. I don't know how they managed to strike such a fine balance. But yes, actually it was really good to watch it the second time around, because I felt like I picked up on a lot of little signs or things, kind of poetic angles that I'd probably missed the first time around.
Right. No, this movie was, when you talk about a cinema movie, when you talk about cinematic, when you talk about what was the purpose of cinema, it is Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah.
The cinemas were built for this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right from the very beginning. I don't know how you guys looked at it, but then, my background and my work and my career being in film and TV and having directed movies myself and written scripts, what transfixed me the most was that right from the very beginning, it was a dance sequence between Elio and Elio.
Well, they
Olio and
might
Elio.
as well call them Olio.
They'll name their son that.
Between Elio and Oliver, and it's this dance sequence. Right from the very beginning, it started a trepidatious ballet, and then it goes on to salsa, then it's a tango, then it's passionately romantic tango. So like it's always that, and it's always they dance around each other in a almost animalistic way. What was the part what did you guys think of the beginning where
when they start?
One second.
Do you mean when they?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Are you trying to say when did we kind of think that someone was attracted to the other one, or what did you mean?
Right. No, for me, like the beginning, the introduction,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Right from the beginning, the first thing that Elio says when he sees him from the window is he says the confidence.
He's confident. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was almost like. He says that it is so confident, right? And he's so confident, and he speaks in French to the girl's character. I forget what her name is.
Marza.
Marza, right? Marza. And in fact, in the original book, the girl is actually Italian, but I believe they made her French in the movie because Timothy can speak fluent French, and so they just thought it might be better to have it this way. And for me, how they say, "Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine," and Armie delivers that line. I think, yes, they did that, but do you remember when Elio's dad, Mr. Perlman, introduces the two of them? And he goes, Elio, Oliver, Oliver, Elio.
Yeah.
That was the first instance where the name had been already interchanged. Intertwined, right? I don't know if anyone else noticed it or not, but he goes, Elio, Oliver, Oliver, Elio. Like the places where the names appear changes.
Oh, really?
Right, yeah.
I missed that part.
Yeah, I missed that bit as well.
But I'm not surprised.
Almost like...
Yeah, I can imagine that would be...
Like, like how we introduce people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We would go like,
yeah.
all right, Armie, Timothy, Armie. But the name of the movie, the whole point of the movie, the name is to show to the audience that they're now become one, and they answer to each other's names. And the father had already done that by going Elio, Oliver, Elio. And I never noticed that the first time round. I only noticed it the second and third time round.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful.
But I thought,
yeah.
right, I was like, and that was the very beginning. And what I loved about, and then Timothy goes, and then Timothy says, let me show you to your room. And then Armie go, and then he looks at his mother and he goes, my
Do you
room?
mean my room? Yeah. Do
you mean my room? Right. Because from the very first meeting, they had already become like intertwined.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. Do you remember there was one part where when we talk about the breakfast table, right, you know, Timmy's watching him being the super confident American, and Timmy's like, you know, then later for dinner, he's a no-show for dinner, and Timmy goes, you know, don't you? He says something like, he's going to leave us even in the end. Yeah, isn't he so rude? And he's going to leave us even in the end just by
later. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I hate to jump ahead, but notice how in the end he doesn't say later to him.
He doesn't, right?
It's silence. Like, he doesn't say he says later to the parents, everything, and then he kind of expect him to say later to Elio, but he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. That scene between them was just a silent nod. Like they just know that this could be the last time they see each other, but they're just so much in it. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're just talking about the first scene, so don't want to jump to the end. But yeah,
no, but the later is just so it's so prominent throughout the film that you knew it was going to leave a mark at the end.
Yeah.
Right, poignant. And what I love about that ending scene, because because throughout the movie he uses later, I think at least 19 or 20, 21 times. And finally, you know, Elio had predicted that, he's just going to leave us by saying later. But he doesn't. He just goes completely silent. And that was the beauty. That was where we could see Oliver completely shutting down, because he's so sad that there's a mask that he had used for so long by going later. You know, almost by making it like, I don't even care about this later, right? It's such a
just trying
word.
To appear very cool and
right, nonchalant. Everything's nonchalant, like whatever, later. And then at that moment when he's leaving, he does not say later. He just goes completely shut off. And we'll come back to that scene again in a little bit. The part where, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but do you remember when the mom and dad in the beginning the mom and dad say, you can talk to us about anything, when he's laying on the mom and dad's lap?
Yeah, when they're reading the French love story.
Speak or die.
The German.
Yeah, speak
or die.
Or die. Is it better to talk or die?
Yeah.
And it was, and I think all three of us can say, like, we have every human with a heartbeat and a pulse can say we've had that moment in our life. Better to talk or die.
And also he just lays there and says, I don't think I'll be able to ask someone that.
I don't have the courage. And then the dad goes, I don't think so, I think you do, or something like that. Do you remember what it was?
I can't remember what he says, but
I think he said something like, you can always tell us, or you can always, like, something along those lines. I can't quite remember, but he said something consoling, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too. But it's almost like, and even, I don't know if you noticed the nuanced, his mom, even when she's saying this, when she's reading the German story about the knight and the princess, translating it, the entire time she's looking at the father. She's not actually looking at the book. She's looking directly at the father without breaking any eye contact.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah.
You know, and that was the because arguing, flirting, and then the dancing, and then the part where I'm trying to think where the other part was. Tell me more about the scenes that you guys thought stood out to you. Why didn't you start, Leena?
Well, I think everything between them was so beautiful, but I think the ones that obviously stand out is like when I think when both of them are out, and then that's the first time that they're actually talking about it, like where Oliver's, he basically just says, "Oh, you know everything," and then you know how he says, "I know nothing, Oliver, not about the things that actually matter," and then he goes,
Right.
"You know what things?" And then are you saying what I think you're saying? Like, you know, that's when they actually that's when they actually like talk about it, but not talk about it at the same time. Like, you know, that bit was the first that we kind of see them both kind of acknowledging it, but not. I thought that was beautiful, and then everything that kind of follows from there on, and the whole sequence of things that happens after that, you know, that scene in the lake, and then just their first kiss and everything. I think that's obviously that's my favorite.
Yeah, I think so too, and I particularly like the lake part where he's like, "I love the way you say things," and then but then I don't know why you kind of put yourself down. And then where Elio, Timothy's character, says,
"So that you won't,"
and then
right.
Or that you won't, and then he's like, "Well, do you care that
much about what I think?"
And then and then when he kind of slowly draws closer. But then I just love that playful shrug that Oliver gives him, saying, "Don't make it hard. Don't make things difficult for me."
You're making things difficult for me.
I think that exchange was just so powerful, because they just kind of come from that town scene where they're like, "Okay, well, let's not talk about it," kind of thing. So you almost wonder if Oliver just wants to kind of not address it.
That part was a bit like, you know, because he's the one that's a bit touchy, like, you know, he started it where he kind of touches his shoulder when they were playing volleyball and things.
Doesn't he say that in the end?
Yeah, he does. Like, he was kind of like,
yes, he does. He reminds
and
him.
then,
because that's another one of my favorite scenes. Is actually he's like,
the moonlight scene.
Oh, so like, and the fact that he's
going
like,
back to the going back to the Piave statue scene, again, like I said, to me, this movie is a dance performance, right? It's a dance performance. It goes from bad. It's it's almost like being at the opera or being at the Albert Theatre and watching a dance sequence that goes from ballet to tango to salsa and everything in between. And even that scene where they come to the town square, which is the piazza, and Armie says, "Wait here." And it's constantly, even right from the very beginning, you see that playfulness between them. You know, Timmy will be waiting somewhere, Armie will leave, then Armie will come back into the scene, and it's a long shot. And Armie says, "Oh, this is what is the statue?" And he goes, "The statue of Piave, the most important battle. 100 and something people die.
170,000.
Right, and then Armie goes, "Oh, you do know everything about everything." And then Timmy says, "If you only knew how little I know about
things
the
that
matter. And then Armie says, "What things that matter?" And then Timmy goes, "You know what things." There's a pause, and then Armie goes to the other side of the structure.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. It's almost like it's a long shot. There is not a single
for
cut.
A bit.
Right there, and it's Armie that walks away and goes to the other side.
He's creating the distance, and then coming,
right. And it's a complete one shot, and then Armie says, "Why are you telling me this?" And then Timmy goes, "You should know."
I just thought you should know. I just thought you should know.
Right.
I wanted you to know. Doesn't he keep saying, "I want you to know"? Yeah.
Right.
So
and then
beautiful.
Armie asks, "I should know?" And then Timmy goes, "Because I wanted you to know." And then he repeats. And then they come back. And then after they cross the little structure, the Piave structure, they come back in to each other. And then Armie goes, "Are you saying what I think you're saying?"
Yeah, because this was, I don't know if I felt this, like, you know, the first time I watched it, but then it's like Oliver already knows. He's like one step ahead, but trying to, like, you know, kind of like create a bit of a distance, whereas Elio's character is just like, you know, just only like discovering and figuring it out, but he obviously wants Oliver to know. And like you say, it's like the pulling back and getting closer kind of thing, like the push and pull, and obviously that's the attraction. And I just love it.
Okay, and also remember, we shouldn't mention anyone else's names during this. That's from our personal lives, because it's just not right. But I've been that exact little playful dance that they have done in that scene. I've been through that. Literally, someone asked me, "I want to tell you something, but I'm scared you'll pull away." And then me going, "What is it?" And they're like, well, promise you won't pull away. And then I said, how do I know if I don't know what you're going to say? And the person saying, I think you do.
I think you already
Right. So I think you already know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And then me saying, well, I don't want to react because I'm scared about what you'll think of my reaction, right? So I thought it was so poignant, and in the end, that scene, Armie tells Oliver tells Elio, wait here, and then Elio says, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Just so beautiful.
Oh.
Yes. I think we all sort of felt the same during that scene, because it seems like we have memorized every single little movement and dialogue of that stretch. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, kind of the next. I think everyone can agree on that midnight scene, and just I'm glad you came. It's just. That was all that they needed to say, and just that soft caressing.
Yeah, and also it's not like
so much excitement and tension.
It's not like an endless dialogue between them. Like there isn't a lot they're saying, but with the few words that they're saying so much. That's the beauty of it, I think. Like it's because it's quite a slow. I don't know if to say slow pace, but it's kind of like it just kind of moves and flows so well, but it's not like they're talking so much. It's just they're just saying the right things, and
and just also they use Luca Guadagnino and the cinematographer Swayambhu. They were so profoundly so good, because so nuanced in the screen. There's this massive canvas known as a screen, and it's always about, like in the beginning when Elio and Oliver go together to the piazza and they're having coffee, and then Elio gets on his bike, Oliver gets on his bike, and Oliver leaves. Yeah, and then Elio just stares behind him, and he's like, "What the f? Like, well, who is this guy?
Yeah,
like he's gotta go." And it's almost like his entire being, like by Oliver being there, his entire being, his homeostasis, his normalcy has been disrupted.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the parallels, and just kind of the weaving of different contexts and things as well. The bit where you see Elio in his old room, so Oliver's present room, kind of with the note, or at least maybe in his room, grow up, I'll see you at midnight. And then you see just after that, downstairs, you have the father and Oliver in that scene kind of going through some of those the images of some of the sculptures.
Oh yeah.
And then the father is saying
something about desire,
daring you to desire them.
Right.
Yeah. And then that sculpture just looks exactly like Timothee Chalamet with the curly hair and everything. It's just but I was just like, wow, this is so genius.
Right, and I remember that scene so well when he goes, provoking you and daring you to desire. And Oliver, at that very moment, looks at the father.
A bit uncomfortable.
With his big eye. Yeah, like, what? Like, what does he know? Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Right. When they go to the archaeological hunt, and being this complete, both, I think, when three of us traveled through Athens, I think I kind of like, bored the two the bleep out of the two of you by telling all this history.
Well, you almost killed me by the number of pictures you asked me to take anyway in this searing midday sun in Athens in August.
Yeah, but I think you two also quite. I remember both of you going like, we're actually quite shocked and impressed at how much you know about all this, about the history of Athens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember telling you guys, and so you know how much archaeology means to me, and history means to me, and all these antique structures, these vintage, these old structures mean to me. So what I loved about when they go on this archaeology trip is they talk about Hadrian, and Hadrian, the Emperor Hadrian, and Emperor Hadrian is famous to have had his own boyfriend, his male lover, his romantic male lover. And then the statues were also gifts from this one creature, one person from history, to his boyfriend as well. And I remember when they bring the statue out, and both both Elio and Oliver are looking over the statue and almost touching. Elio is touching the midsection and like feeling his chest.
Oh yeah, and then he's touching the lips. Yeah,
and it's almost like a foreshadowing to what is coming, because that statue is Elio. He looks
And
like
I
you
just
said.
found as well, I don't think I noticed the first time around, so many of those Greek references, like sort of the Greek words, the Greek statues. There's a lot of Greek embedded in this film, isn't there?
Latin
It is.
and
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
and
all
I
about
think
the
it might
history.
even be to do so. Yeah, it may even be to do with the kind of the sexual sort of liberation, or sort of how kind of what we know about sort of the ancient Greeks.
Right, and also they were
the similar kind of relationships.
Right.
Yeah,
like being gay was a complete norm in the Greek culture.
Yeah,
In
so
ancient times, it was a complete
and also
norm.
the age difference was
and
from what I've read,
just going back to
it's
the
common.
statue scene where they bring it out and stuff, and where Elio's touching the midsection, like you said, and Oliver goes for the lips and the face. That's how he starts when they are having that moment. After the lake scene where they're laying down just before the first kiss.
That entire scene to me, that right before, I don't know if to call it lake, but that incline, that grassy patch of incline, and you see Timothy, Elio, and Oliver laying there. It's like a Renoir painting. Like I look at that, and to me, that is a Renoir painting. It's so Renoir. What I loved about, like again, Italy, obviously, Pompeii is something that is very close to my heart. There were actually parts of the mansion that had paintings on the walls, all rusty and faded, like in Pompeii. Because what I found profound about even the Sufjan Stevens soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
When they're going up the what do you call it? The waterfall.
Yeah.
Right. And the song goes on. I don't know if it's Visions of Gideon or Mystery of Love.
The Mystery of Love.
Because the Vision
Mystery of Love.
Yeah.
Right. The Mystery of Love. There's a sentence, and they pay homage to Alexander and his love, Hephaestion. Alexander and his boyfriend Hephaestion, because in the song, as we see the sequence of them running up the hill. The song says, "Lover of Alexander, Hephaestion."
Right. I think I may have missed the words, but that scene was beautiful. Like them calling out each other's names or their own names.
And it was. Why was that significant? Is because Alexander was the greatest king in the world, and he is gay, and his lover, who was the same age as him, his boyfriend, was Hephaestion. And after Hephaestion actually passed away because he pretended to be Alexander in the battlefield, when Alexander would no longer go to the battlefield, Hephaestion put on Alexander's armor and went to the battlefield, and in the process got killed. And Alexander cried for so long after that happened that I think for nine days or something, he would not let go of his lover Alexander's Hephaestion's body. And he laid next to him, and then on the 10th day or something, he built a 10-foot long high pyre, and did a massive funeral, and then asked the priests in Athens, is Hephaestion a god too, a son of God too? Because he thought if he's a son of God too, we'll meet again in heaven. And the priests sent back a word to Alexander saying he's not a god, but he is a demigod. So yes, you will be meeting him in heaven. And I thought that was profound that they paid homage to Alexander and Hephaestion in that scene. Do you remember the nosebleed part?
Yeah. I love the bit where they're sat on the floor, and then he starts massaging his toes, and then towards the end where he kisses the foot. It's really very intimate,
very nuanced, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like real life.
Yeah.
What I love about that scene, about how it all starts out, is because when Timothy's nose starts bleeding, the only person that looks concerned there is because the mother's like, "Oh, it always happens."
Yeah.
And the only person that's concerned is Armie, as in Oliver, right? And then the mother, when Oliver excuses himself from the table, the mother follows him with her eyes. That's one of the first places, like, oh yes,
she knows like he's gone to check on him, kind of thing.
But also where they're there, I just felt like also with with Oliver's presence, obviously Elio at first was kind of maybe full of awe, admiration, but a little bit of annoyance, and he goes through a range of emotions. But also I felt like Oliver like kind of helped him come into his own as well, that relationship, the friendship, because isn't it at that point then he kind of talks about his own Star of David necklace, which he didn't wear until he saw obviously Oliver wearing it,
and then he wears
and then he's more comfortable because you can see that he's growing into his own, because the next scene you see he's in that swimming scene and he's got that necklace around him.
Right, and because remember, it's set in 1983, which is right after, a few decades after the World War. People were still very trepidatious about letting others know that they are Jewish themselves. And he goes, Elio says, my mother says we are the Jews of discretion. The Jews of discretion. And I thought that was such a powerful, beautiful line. Sad line, but definitely a powerful, beautiful line. And he puts his hand into Armie's chest. And as he's caressing him, he plays with the locket. Right after the scene, I think even before the lake, or I don't know if the lake happened first or this happened first.
I think,
but
the nosebleed happens first. He touches the thing,
because
and then he gets it out.
Then you see he's wearing his own one.
But
because he says, "I used to have one," or
I have the same one.
I think the first place he wears it, and I think, like you rightfully said, Elio learns to accept himself for everything he is because of Oliver, right? I think it's that scene where there is an opening, it's a garden, he's waiting, and Mafalda is walking back. It's around the evening. Oh my God, this movie brings me such great memories of Italy. He's waiting in the opening. Mafalda's walking by with shopping, and Timmy's on the Elio's on the ground, and he goes, Mafalda, have you seen Oliver? And she goes, no.
You can see he's been waiting for him all day. Yeah.
And he's searching for him, and we don't see like what he's wearing. And then suddenly it cuts to his face, and he has the locket of David, Star of David, in his mouth. I believe that was the first time we saw him wearing it. No, that was before.
I think that's probably that's.
I think it's after.
Actually, I think Lisha, you mean the swimming pool, not the lake.
The swimming pool, right?
Yeah, so he has it
Yeah.
Do you guys know the flicker effect that you see on Timmy's Elio's face during that?
Yeah, I thought it was something like, I thought it was like my YouTube, I thought it was like some issue with the video itself.
I thought it was very strange that in a movie that is so raw, they decided to use filters. And then I looked into it, and I found out that the footage had actually been damaged.
Oh really?
Okay, yeah.
But
so that's what I thought. I thought it was like I thought it was my like YouTube video thing that got
right. The film reel had been damaged, but the director and the editor saw it as a sign from God and the universe to give the scene even more meaning. So they left it as it is.
Okay.
And it did.
That's interesting.
Because we peek through that filter to see Elio's reaction.
Yeah, I was like, what's happening here? Like, am I seeing him? Like, it's like dark, but like, I want to see his face.
Yeah. Because obviously when Oliver does finally come home very late that night, and he's obviously, Elio stayed awake because he just wondered where
and
he
then
is.
he just says,
he probably thinks that he was with a girl or something, right? But then obviously you come to, in like I think the next night or whenever there is, and they stay together. And then when Oliver says like, "Oh, I come out here for hours at night," yeah, and then I think that's like a sense of relief at Elio going, "Oh, like this is where you come." Oliver's like, "I know what you've got."
Yeah, I know what you thought, but he wasn't.
Yeah, he was there just thinking maybe.
Yeah, and like when he doesn't come into the room, he just goes to sleep calling him a traitor. His traitor.
That entire scene was so sensual. And then I remember his mother goes, I think his mother says something like, "Do you like him?" And then Elio says something like, "I don't know." And then
everyone likes him.
Everyone likes him.
Oliver.
Everyone loves Oliver. Yeah.
Right. Everyone loves Oliver. And then his mother goes, "He likes you more than you do."
He likes you more than you think you do, or
more
than
you do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what the mom says, which is very odd for her to say.
Yeah, so at that
time, it just kind of feel like they're
so my thing was like, I thought she knew, but then again, later when the father says she doesn't know, I'm thinking like, was she really thinking it's like a pure friendship that she just wanted them to be like really good friends? Like I don't know if she didn't see the romantic part, but for me, like whenever she said those things and like with again, like with her eyes kind of following, Oliver and stuff. Like I thought she just knew that there was something romantic there as well, like something special.
She knew right from the start.
Yeah.
I think
Or
mostly,
maybe they just wanted us to wonder whether she did or not, which is by the father's reaction. But no, I think
she did.
Or there's another thing, right? Because obviously the father at the end alludes that to him having a similar romance, or maybe not quite, because he said he wasn't quite brave enough.
Right.
But I wondered if Elio's question
was like about him,
was about that, not rather than about him. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I did. No, I did wonder that, because I was because it was quite evident that she kind of knew what was going on between him and Oliver. So I did actually think to myself as well, did he actually mean, does she know about the father having like that kind of a similar experience?
Right.
So so we might have to kind of dig into it and find out a bit more about that.
I mean, you can just kind of wonder. Yes.
What Michael Stuhlbarg, who plays the character, actually said that. But obviously, I want to leave it to the viewer's interpretation. I don't want to ruin it, because, like Inception, like the movie Inception, there are certain things that the viewer has control over, right? I wrote a script sometime back, 10 years. 2011, I wrote a script about this son who meets his dad after 10 years in the hospital. And the hospital wants him to make a decision on his father's life, to take the life support machine out or to leave it in. And I don't know if I've ever told you about this script, and then the son's personality splits into 7 different characters. So the son's body splits into 7 different characters, and it's the same son, but at different ages, having a discussion with each other about what to do with their father, who has always betrayed them.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, you hadn't mentioned it. No.
Right, and then in the end, my constant the debate with myself was, what should I do with the end? Like, should I give it a response, like, no, I'm not going to make a decision, or yes, I'm going to make a decision, or am I going to leave it to the viewer? And in the end, I decided I'm going to leave it to the viewer. So there will be a moment in the end where it closes up on his face, and then we don't know if he said a yes or a no after the entire discussion.
Yeah, I think it just makes it that much more memorable, doesn't it, when you get the viewers involved?
Right.
Because you're still engaged with the film even after.
Right. What Michael Stuhlbarg did say was that I shouldn't say it, because I know far too much than most viewers do, so I don't think I should mention it. I'll tell you after the call what he said.
I think we'll probably dive into a lot of what happens in the film, so this isn't for someone that hasn't watched it, for sure.
No, it's perfectly fine. And what I love about the house as well is that the house itself is a character in the movie, right? That door is always the loudest thing in the entire house. So when he's pretending to sleep and Armie, Oliver comes in and pees, and the way he unbuckles his belt, you can hear the clanking of the belt. The entire thing is supposed to be this ASMR
it's heightened
thing where it's heightened. What I love about this movie is there's not a single scene where it feels vulgar.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's also the vulnerability part, right? Because you would think someone like Oliver, who comes across in the beginning as a super suave, confident guy, he's not really that confident either. Like, both of them, you can see in the first sort of scene where they sleep together, is they're both just as uncomfortable or awkward as each other. And that's sort of so raw, because none of them come across too polished in that sense, right?
Right.
So I think that's what actually makes it even more beautiful.
Yeah, because the next morning, when Elio kind of like moves, I don't know, he just moves as in he gets up, but then Oliver thinks that something's wrong, like that he's probably having like second thoughts or like regretted the night. But then he says, let's just go for a swim. And then when they come back after the swim, and then Oliver like wants to just validate whether he still kind of feels it physically, and then he the thing he says about you're still hard, so it's all good. Or, I don't know, some he says something, but it's just almost like he just,
I don't know about what he says, but it's a smile in his face that is what I remember.
It's just like he knows that the other person's obviously felt it and doesn't regret it, and I think it just gives him that boost.
For me, that entire sequence and how it was done, right? To I'll grow up, I'll meet you at midnight, and then them saying there's tension throughout the scene. You see tension, and then the clock is ticking. You hear the music, which almost like serves as the clock, and there's certain multiple references to what time is it, and in the end, the couple arrives. Right, the couple arrives. By the way, one of the couple is the writer of the novel, Andre Aciman. One of the couple is the Andre Aciman guy.
Oh, okay.
So when he plays the piano, and then in the distance you see Oliver coming in,
Going up,
taking a look at Elio
Going
and
up.
walking up, and
Yeah.
I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he says, "I'm tired. I'm going to go back to bed. I'm going to go to bed." And then his
But
dad
who
goes,
hands him the
The
watch?
father.
The dad.
I know, because I've been looking at the watch all day.
Yeah,
And then it's like, don't leave the watch. But then, of course, it's the father that gives it. So it's just like father giving it all his blessings almost, isn't
yeah,
it?
like giving his hand in marriage, almost. Sort of. And then when he goes to the balcony and their hands touch, and he goes, "I'm so glad you came."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that moment just turned me into mush.
Right. Oh, completely. And also like the burnt cigarette, right? Almost like burning desire, signifying burning desire. And he touches his hand, because they could have easily just shown two hands touching. But there was a burnt cigarette to show the desire. And then they follow each other. They creep, again, like a dance. They creep through the halls and they go into the room. And then the door plays a huge part where it just bangs.
Yeah.
Right? And they're trying to be quiet. They're trying to steal from this night for themselves. And then they climb over all over each other. And then they have this moment. And the funny thing is, when Elio has his sexual scene with the girl, he's fully dressed. So it's never fully, the clothes never come off. Or even in that scene where right before that attic scene, he was already undressed. There wasn't like complete. It's only when he is with Oliver that he's fully nude.
Yeah.
Fully, completely, without anything, to show to us, almost like a metaphor, that they're both completely naked for each other.
Yeah.
Right? For each other. And then the dad and the mom, even before the couple arrives, they go, "There's nothing wrong with who they are. Don't make fun of them."
Because they're gay.
Right.
He says something.
Right. But
Yeah.
if you guys remember very well, when he's playing the piano for the couple and the parents, the only thing that pierces the piano's music is the footsteps of Oliver going upstairs.
Yeah.
That resonated with me. That resonated very much with me. They tiptoe, and then once they're done making love, right? And he takes the blue shirt and then he throws it on the ground. And Elio says, "You wore this the first day you were here.
Yeah, can you give it to
Can
me?
you give it to me
When you
before you
leave?"
go?"
Yeah.
Oh, when he said that line, I was just like, good grief. And morning comes, and I don't know about the two of you, but the morning after was very uncomfortable for the both of them, right? They don't know. Oliver is
They
thinking,
didn't know about each other's
right,
feelings.
is he okay? And Elio's thinking, what the heck am I supposed to do now? And he walks away, and they're both wearing the locket still. And, he comes to the breakfast table, Oliver does. And Elio comes in and kisses both his parents, but not Oliver.
Yeah.
He sits down, and Elio's nervous, he's uncomfortable. He's looking at Elio for some kind of response, and Elio gives him nothing because he has his mask of sunglasses on. And then Oliver leaves the table.
And then he follows. Yeah.
Right. But before Oliver leaves, he looks at Elio and then leaves.
Yeah, he
Right?
does.
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
It's almost like he was just waiting for Elio to come before he left,
Right.
and saying, "I'm going into town."
Then kind of
Right.
come with
whatever
me.
it is he says. Yeah.
They don't.
Then obviously, then he doesn't know what to do, but he just comes and follows him. But
Yeah,
it's
and
just,
Not a
it's
single word
that
was needed between them.
rawness.
It
Yeah.
was like they were
Just-
talking to each other.
Also,
It's all about the lips.
Also, that scene, it almost like kind of gives it away to the parents, almost because they're not even acknowledging each other. It's almost like something kind of
Of
happened.
course.
So it's like
something
course.
happened.
And
Yeah.
his mom knows. His mom knows, by the way.
Yeah.
His mom looks.
We keep going back to that. Yes. Yeah.
And then Elio.
But also
Go ahead.
carry on. No, I was just saying when he does, like, because I was thinking about the blue shirt, right? Blue shirt on the floor. And then when he does actually give him the shirt all cleaned and ironed.
to Elio.
and
Oh
he
no,
says,
to
for Oliver.
No.
For Oliver from
yeah,
Elio.
yeah.
Just the name exchanging. It just keeps coming back, doesn't it? So it's beautiful.
It was beautiful. And then so he follows him
Into town.
into town. And then, Oliver comes out of the shop and Elio looks at him, and then Oliver says to him, do you know how happy I am that we slept with each other?
Yeah. And he smiles and his eyes light up, and it's just so beautiful.
Oh, he looks so beautiful in that moment. Yeah.
Completely. And then he goes, I'm not going to tell anyone. You're not going to get into trouble. Right? And he's like, what are you talking about? Follow me. And then they walk around that city and they almost kiss, but they don't kiss.
Yeah, they're against the wall. If I would, I would kiss you if I could. Is that when he says that?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he does.
And
he does.
That entire framing, the color of the t-shirts, the way they're looking at each other, it was almost like you could cut the tension with a knife.
With a knife, yeah, absolutely. But also, it's just sort of, for me, it was the urgency of it all, and kind of knowing that in the beginning, it's like, 6 weeks, is that all he's here for? Because thinking about, 6 weeks isn't really that long. And also just when they kind of acknowledge that, to say, why didn't you give me a sign?
Yeah, we wasted so much time. Yeah.
So it's just so urgent.
And that's what this scene does. This film does.
In the end,
the scenes bleed into each other, right? Right after that piazza scene where they don't kiss, but they say they want to kiss, is where they go into that moonlit scene. The moonlit scene where they're sitting intertwined with each other, and then he goes, why didn't you give me a sign? No, first Elio says, which is one of my favorite lines in the movie, because I've been through that, and he goes, we wasted so many days.
Yeah.
We wasted so many days. And then he goes, why didn't you give me a sign? And Oliver goes,
I did.
I did.
I touched you to show you that I liked you.
And then it's just like, and then it's validation for us too. Like, that's right. I wasn't imagining it. And then for me, it took me back to I think it's also something beautiful in something temporary. From the start this is gonna be temporary. It's 6 weeks long. And then it's sort of like when you find romance on like a holiday romance or something like a summer romance. All of us are suckers for a slice of, I guess, a summer romance in a sense. But I feel like the intensity of something that's beautiful and temporary is actually almost sometimes even more.
Yeah, because
then.
It is really intense, and you're almost trying to live a lifetime in those moments. So you're doing everything, everything you possibly would want to, imagine doing together. We want to do.
I feel like I kind of went through something similar recently. So everything is more intensified when you're on holiday or you're traveling.
Not only that, but yes, at the time you're sad that it didn't last. But on hindsight, when I look back at those fleeting romances now, I'm actually quite glad it happened.
Yeah, you're happy that you've kind of felt it, right? Like you don't regret it. Yeah, part of the experience. Yeah.
What I find quite sad was during the interview, both Timothee Chalamet and Armie Hammer said that they had never experienced that sort of a fiery romance that they had in the movie, in their personal lives. And the thing is, I have. But yes.
Well, Timothy still has some time.
Yeah, Timothy of course certainly has a lot of time. And
to do that.
Again, going back to that scene again, that moonlit scene, and it was just the romance behind that scene, the moonlight, the intertwinedness of the two of them, and then the forest, almost like it was almost like a mating ritual between two animals. And I used to come here for hours on night, and then I thought that, right? And then right after that scene's over, it bleeds again. The scenes bleed into each other. You see Elio's hand caressing the bed, and he wakes up and he looks for Oliver.
Yeah.
And he cannot find Oliver, and it's just like, this is such a painful scene. And then on the bed is a neatly pressed shirt, and it says, to Oliver from Elio.
Yeah.
Oh, that kills.
And then he embraces the shirt, and it's really cute. Yeah.
It's very cute. And then he wears the shirt.
He wears it.
He wears it, and then goes running after him, to find him. But then, is met with the girl.
Yeah. But of course, and you kind of realize that everything is sort of coming to an end so quickly because you're talking about Oliver leaving and everything. But the mom sort of saying, what about Elio? Like, let them go to Bergamo together.
For a couple of days.
That's again just such a
beautiful scene.
Nice,
and they do go together.
And he's so happy in that bus. Oh my God, Oliver couldn't be smiling any wider in that scene.
And I love how the mom and dad go I hope you guys come back.
Go and have your moment.
Go and have your moment.
Yeah.
Right. Did both of you watch that movie in the theater at all, or never?
No, I haven't watched it. I didn't watch it.
No,
in
I
the
haven't
cinema.
seen it in the cinema.
So
no.
this is why I love cinema, and this is why no matter how popular streaming gets, I want cinema to be alive for the rest of human history or human story, is because the feeling that you enjoy in a black room with all these strangers can never be copied when it's by yourself, right?
Definitely.
That movie was meant for the cinema, because when that scene happened and Oliver and Elio and Oliver are leaving, Elio just goes and sits on his chair, but it's only Oliver that goes to say bye to the parents at the back of the bus, right? And the girl arrives and he just goes bye and leaves. The entire cinema and the theater and the audiences started laughing. They thought it was so funny because Oliver could not give a crap that he's leaving. He's like, bye. Oliver could not give a crap.
Person here.
Right. Oliver could not give a crap about the girl. He's just like, bye. And he's like, yes, I've got my person. And he comes back and sits next to Elio, and they both smile at each other.
Yeah.
And then immediately it cuts to that montage of them running around the waterfall. And to me, because remember, up till that point, all we saw was still waters, right? Still lake, still water. It was always still. It was always still. It showed their romance. And then when that heightened, walking up the mountain scene happens, then the gushing waterfall. The gushing, loud, powerful waterfall just encapsulates the entire scene. And then the Sufjan Stevens soundtrack in the background saying, Alexander's lover, Hephaestion. I was just like, what? How did they come up with? These are magicians, all of them. Every single person in that movie is a magician. How did they come up with this? And also, did you know the waterfall is not a real waterfall? It's a dam. It's a dam, and once a year they open the dam to release water, to release some pressure. So there was a specific amount of time within which they had to be done filming. And they yell each other's names. And then they, I remember, do you remember when Elio turns around, goes and caresses Oliver's hair and then keeps going. And then Oliver looks around to see if anyone's following them. Almost like checking, right? To see if anyone's there. And that scene touched me a lot as well.
And then they kiss.
Come back to the...
Don't they kiss?
They kiss.
Yeah.
They kiss when they're wearing the green shirt and the red shirt, and they are dancing around the square, around the piazza. And they're about to kiss, and then they hear the music. And Elio vomits.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Elio vomits.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, when Oliver's dancing with the girl.
Right. I don't know about you guys, but right after that scene, they go down these steps, and there's this huge man-made structure, which is all brown and grey, and far off in the distance is Elio and Oliver coming down the stairs, wearing red and green.
And he goes to take some water.
The fountain,
That was one of the most picturesque scenes I've ever seen. Just because of how they frame that, and then they hug each other, and then they continue on each other's arms, and then they hold each other and they make out, they kiss each other. The kissing scenes in this movie are phenomenal, right from the very beginning to the end.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, it really is.
I want to go back to the first time when they kissed really quickly. Do you remember when they're talking to each other, and then just like he caresses statue, Oliver caresses Elio's lips.
Yeah.
And then they leap at each other, and there's this dance that they do, and then obviously Elio grabs Oliver's.
And he jumps onto
Elio
pretty much.
Elio grabs Oliver's crotch, dick, whatever you want to call it, and then he said there's that scene, and Elio almost says like, I've been good so far. No, Oliver says I've been good so far.
Yeah. And then also there, that's
good.
The first time where you kind of know like what he's feeling, because he's like, we've not done anything to be ashamed of yet, kind of thing. So it's like
it showed that Oliver was uncomfortable with it. He wanted it, but he was almost embarrassed.
He's like, I want to be good, just don't. But then
but then he's also the one that says, we haven't done anything to be ashamed of after they have sex with each other. So he is the one struggling with it, but then he is the one that also says we haven't done anything to be ashamed of.
Yeah, so he said that before they'd even got to the point where they're having sex, and this was just after they kissed.
Yeah, I think it's because
Right.
he's the more mature one, and he's the one that needs to sort of make his decisions. I think Timothy's character, as uncertain and kind of seemingly weak at first as he may be, he is also that much more carefree, though, isn't he?
Because I think what
Because he's younger
I
too.
think
I
what
think.
Oliver's character is probably struggling with is like he doesn't want to mess the other person. Almost like, you know, it's like he's sure of what he's feeling, but
Right.
then he doesn't know if he's kind of leading on Elio, for example. Like I think that's
Right.
I think that's what his thinking is.
But also, I feel like, you know, because how in the end he sort of goes, like, you're so lucky, your father, like, you know, you have, like, I think something on those lines, which kind of implies that
His parents
father wouldn't
aren't,
be like
which
that.
is why he's obviously got engaged.
So that's probably
at
where,
that point.
yeah.
And you obviously have to assume
Yeah.
that he's engaged to obviously a girl.
Right. And
well,
even when
yeah.
they first had the kiss and Elio grabs Oliver's crotch, and then things transpire between them. And then the thing with Oliver is that he's constantly trying to show himself to Elio by saying that, look at this bruise I had, right? Look at this bruise I had. And he's constantly talking about that. Even from the very first moment on, when he gives him a massage and goes, here, let me help you. Let me get this knot out of you, right? You can see Elio's complete nervousness, because when he runs away from that volleyball park, he runs away with food still in his hand, awkwardly jumping past the hedge. To show the awkwardness between the two of them. What I right after that, the kissing and making out scene at when they went to Bergamo, and then they come back to the hall, and that's the first time you see Armie Hammer standing by the window, completely naked, and
a bit pensive,
And then he comes down and he just looks at Elio and won't take his eyes off him. You see Elio's dream sequences.
I thought it was flashback, but okay, it was dream. Okay.
But do you remember what the dream was?
Them meeting.
I mean, I just see them in the sunglasses. Yeah.
I don't. My thing was, I don't know if that scene actually happened. Like they met, but then they were in the sunglasses, and I don't know if that scene was something that was replayed back.
No, it was a dream sequence that
right.
Elio had, and the dream was the Piavi structure, which had been the divider between the two of them when they were dancing around each other. In the dream, Elio and Oliver were on top of it.
Okay, yeah.
Right, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that bit.
Just went in a flash. Like I think at that point I was already thinking, okay, it's time for him to leave. So I was already like ahead in my emotional roller coaster already.
Yeah.
Right. It was Elio and Oliver. The dream was showing that Elio and Oliver conquered that structure, that Piavi structure.
Oh, really?
And
I'll
then
have to watch it again.
I'm gonna have to go back and
Right,
watch
and then the flashback immediately cuts to them both making out with each other. Oliver kissing Elio's neck with the sunglasses on, and then in the scene there is a the train horn, and Oliver turns around to look for the train, and then it's a train.
And there at the station,
That train scene! My God, I couldn't talk. I was just like, because they hugged each other.
Neither could they.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what can you say? Like, oh, see you again. I love you. And the thing is, they don't say I love you to each other, do they? They don't. But then it's like, you're already like, we're feeling it. We're like, yeah, they love each other. It's so deep.
Yeah.
But then obviously after he does leave, and then Elio's sort of when he's alone in the station, and he calls for the lift. It's just he can barely speak, right?
But,
and this is one thing I noticed. Like each time Elio is on the phone, like it seems like he doesn't really recognize who the person is on the other end of the phone. Because I think at one point he's like, "Oh, is that Martha?" And then even where he is like, "Okay, is he speaking to his mom or to Mafalda?" And then what Mafalda? What's her name?
I've forgotten Mafalda.
Yeah. But then of course when Oliver calls right away, he's like, oh, like, like he just lights up.
Right.
So I just found that to be like, that's the only time he's been on the phone where he actually recognizes the other person on the phone.
Right.
He doesn't even recognize his mom on the phone.
Going back to the train sequence, this is the first time we've seen either of them completely speechless. And then, Oliver's just in tears, just cannot even speak, cannot say his chosen word or chosen excuse of later. And then you see Elio literally caressing his own neck, like he's trying to, soften the lump in his throat. And he goes, and then they both just nod at each other. And apparently they had no rehearsals for that scene either. The rehearsal was just them doing that right there in front of the screen. And the one look that Oliver gives, and then they leave, right? Then he calls the mother, and the mother comes and picks him up, and he cries. In the end, you see, obviously he meets the girl, and the girl knew right from the very start. The girl knew that the both of them liked each other, because when they were going skinny dipping, she starts asking him about Oliver. You didn't like it, did you? And all that stuff. So she always knew. When he
but you kind of think like whether he was jealous of Oliver being with the girl Chiara, but then I was like, they never said that he was interested in the other girl anyway. So you kind of wonder whether
that's why the other girl, she already knew right from the skinny dipping scene that something's going on.
Yeah, because I was kind of thinking, or does she just think he doesn't love her, but didn't think past, it's because he actually loved the other person. But then when I think there's a scene between them where she says, people who read books hide themselves or something, like it kind of is a hint.
They're secretive.
Yeah. It kind of like hints that maybe okay, she knows more. But they don't obviously. I don't know. They don't really. Clearly say what it is, but then when she says, okay, friends for life, it's almost like, okay, she knows that he's sad because Oliver's left, and that kind of gives it away.
Yeah. But it's almost like her way of saying, I know that you and Oliver, Elio, you and Oliver are together, and friends for life, right? It's almost like she's saying, we know what this is going to be, we're just going to be platonic, and we're friends for life. I don't know if you guys remember, after he gets back home, before he goes to speak to his dad, he walks around the house and goes into his room, which is Oliver's room, and he's wearing a shirt, Oliver's shirt, the big blue shirt. And when the scene fades, the only thing you can see is this giant blue shirt that's overpowering Elio. It was almost like a metaphor to me that, that's the size of the hole that Oliver has left in Elio's life.
Right. Yeah, could be. I didn't read into that one. But sounds really.
Yeah, and
but
I'm going to read that father's speech really quick.
Okay, go on.
Oh my gosh.
Because I can't remember word for word, but just going through the scene, the final scene, just made me teary. But
I have the script. I'll send you guys the script as well, because there's lot of things in the script that were not filmed in the movie, because James Ivory wrote the script. James Ivory, I don't know if you've seen his other movies, but James Ivory is this profound director. He won the Oscar for the best screenplay for this movie. Have you ever seen Maurice, or Remains of the Day, or Howard's End, A Room with a View?
No, I haven't. Well, none of those. Okay. So you're gonna have to send us the list again so we can.
Right. As you guys both know, I'm also an actor. So when I was learning acting as a child, or at 14, I would watch Remains of the Day and Howard's End to learn, and Room with a View to learn more about acting. It would fit my sensibilities perfectly. So James Ivory was originally scheduled to direct the movie, and then later on he wrote the script, and then he gave the script to Luca Guadagnino to direct. And on his script, James Ivory wanted an explicit sex scene between Elio and Oliver, where they're making love and having sex, whereas Luca thought, I don't want people to be prejudiced against this movie or feel uncomfortable, so I'd rather make it more erotic and sensual rather than explicit. And he also wanted both the actors to be fully frontal. James Ivory did, not Luca. James Ivory has famously said that, I don't understand why Americans are so uncomfortable with the male body, because Americans will show a female body fully frontal, but never a male body. And James Ivory has a problem with that. Whereas in Europe, you see both fully nude male, fully nude female. So James Ivory wanted that, whereas Luca thought, no, let's not have the full nudity. But then again, when he talked to Armie and Timothy, both of them said that this is the first film where being completely naked with each other and on set felt so comfortable. Like neither of them felt uneasy. Apparently, while filming the entire making love scene, they were naked the entire day or two while filming that, and both of them talked about how comfortable it felt. There was not a hint of vulgarity. So now I'm going to go to this script, which is so profound. Here it says, okay, I'm going to read it. I'm sure he would say the same thing about you, which flatters the two of you. When you least expect it, nature has cunning ways of finding our weakest spot. Just remember, I am here. Right now, you may not want to feel anything. Perhaps you never wish to feel anything. And perhaps it's not to me that you'll want to speak about these things, but feel something you obviously did. Look, you had a beautiful friendship, maybe more than a friendship, and I envy you. In my place, most parents would hope the whole thing just goes away, to pray that their sons land on their feet. But I am not such a parent. In your place, if there is pain, nurse it. And if there is a flame, don't snuff it out. Don't be brutal with it. We rip out so much of ourselves to be cured of things faster that we go bankrupt by the age of 30 and have less to offer each time we start with someone new. But you make yourself feel nothing so as not to feel anything. What a waste. Have I spoken out of turn?
I love that last one. Oh my God.
Then let me say one more thing.
I wrote that down to make
It's not finished.
Right.
It's not finished yet.
You know what?
Let me
That
finish the
moved
script.
me so much.
Then let me say one more. Hold your thought, and the line. Let me say one more thing. It will clear the air. I may have come close. No, have I spoken out of turn? Then let me say one more thing. It will clear the air. I may have come close, but I never had what you two had. Something always held me back or stood in the way. How you live your life is your business. Remember, our hearts and our bodies are given to us only once. And before you know it, your heart is worn out. And as for your body, there comes a point when no one wants to look at it, much less wants to come near it. Right now, there's a sorrow, pain, don't kill it. And with it, the joy you felt. We may never speak about this again, but I hope you'll never hold it against me that we did. I will have been a terrible father if one day you'd want to speak to me and felt that the door was shut or not sufficiently open. Oh, and now we can. Go on. That's right.
Was the last bit there?
It wasn't in the film.
Yes.
That's what Pritan said.
The very final bit wasn't in the film. The door bit.
Oh, it wasn't?
No,
probably
it
not.
wasn't.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
think it
this
might be.
the
It might be in the
additional
book, but
script.
not actually in the.
Yeah,
I'll send you the script.
because that is why I thought you were done. Is because I think it ended with with
I think the line we both liked was
that. Like, oh yeah,
but both line we both
to feel
but to make yourself
nothing.
feel nothing so as not to feel anything.
So
What
to
a
feel
waste.
anything. Yeah, because I feel like that line kind of almost felt like, okay, bring on the heartache. Bring on the sorrow. Like, you're feeling something.
Yeah, because the
here.
pain is also a reminder of all the good times that you had. It's such beautiful.
He needs to.
Yeah, and it was also, I think, like, to sort of, because too many of us try to numb the feeling and jump into a rebound relationship sometimes, and it's like, and I think it's also kind of telling you to just feel it in the moment, whatever it is.
For me, what's the point about that line is that, firstly, the father, Mr. Perlman, gets the Dad of the Year award, right? The mother, the Mrs. Perlman, gets the Mother of the Year award. The mother and the father are the best parents that has ever lived in this entire world. And the line when he says, whatever it is, but to make yourself feel nothing so as not to feel anything. What a waste. It just struck my heart so beautifully that I was like, okay, good.
Yeah.
It touched me. It was like, it was exactly what we needed to hear, what we need to remember at all times. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you both remember, but Lisha, just give me a spiel about what those lines in the end meant to you.
What's that?
What those lines in the end meant to you.
To make yourself feel nothing, so as to not feel anything. What a waste. I think for me it was embrace the pain, because it meant that there was something there, right? To begin with, to make you feel like that. So don't try to hide it. Don't try to mask it. Don't try to run away from it.
Right. What about you, Leena?
For me, it was just like the father just knew what kind of pain his son was in, and obviously, as much as he wants his words to help him, he was also kind of saying that pain you're feeling is obviously the reminder of the good times that you had. Sit with it, feel all of it, and so just a really, really, a very compassionate way of saying, this is how you're feeling. I understand. You may not want to talk to me, but what you felt was, more than a friendship, it was such a special feeling. So just kind of embrace it. Yeah,
validate it.
Yeah,
I think for me it was about, validate what you had.
For me, again, validate.
What
Same
about
thing.
you?
It was just literally. It almost like was advice for me personally that don't numb yourself. Let your heart feel. Let your body be itself. Just be. Because throughout my whole life, I've always given my friends advice that my friends say that I have always said the word just be, right? But I need to learn more of that myself because I do just be. But then there are times when I will numb myself and rather than feel it. And I think now it's almost like, okay, I'm going to feel it. What I love about, and so like, it almost gives me permission, like, I've got to feel more of these romantic notions whenever I feel it without any worry, without second guessing it. If you also remember, the title of the movie was never shown in the beginning. Because no one had called each other. No, that's what I remember in the beginning thinking, why is the title not here? I don't remember in the second time around when I watched it, where is the title? Did they cut it off? And then in the end, it shows when Timothy's crying.
Oh, when he's crying near that fireplace.
That's the first time
by the fire.
you see the title. Because by then, they have called each other's name.
Okay, yeah. They just leave it as directed by Luca, and then in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right, and I was...
And of course, calling each other by the name, like at the very end, obviously when he shares his news about being engaged, and you kind of think, okay, has he moved on, like drastically, whatever it is. But of course, where Elio starts calling Oliver Elio, and then all he has to say at the very end is
Oliver. Right, and then what he...
No, he only says Oliver,
he only
right?
says
He
once.
only says one time. I remember everything.
Oh, yeah, he said, I remember
Elio keeps repeating Elio, but Oliver only says once, Oliver.
Right.
I remember everything.
I remember everything.
Like, obviously to say, like, it
it's
meant
like,
something.
it's almost like I still feel the same way about you, but...
Right, and it's at that place where he goes, they know about us, and then Oliver says, I know, because your dad always treated me,
made me feel like a part of your family,
like
a son-in-law.
Yeah, highly recommended.
And of course, and this is where he does say, right, your father, you're so lucky, like kind of to have a father like that, along those lines. And then that's kind of where it implies that he probably doesn't have the same, and perhaps the engagement was maybe
cover up
to make the father happy, perhaps
right,
cover up, right. So that's also left to interpretation, isn't it? So anyway,
and also that was 1983, so I don't know what the scene was like, but I mean, I guess they couldn't have come. They couldn't have come out.
The sequel to the movie is going to be about them reuniting after all these years, and them reuniting with each other, and I just simply can't wait, because like this movie, so it should almost be like the law, like everyone has to watch it. That's how deeply I feel about it.
Watch it twice too.
Right, not just twice, or as many more times as you can. I'm going to send you both the script. I'm also going to make it available for all our readers, watchers on YouTube and podcast, to have it in the end somewhere, so they can avail it. Right, so thank you so much, guys. Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, let this be. It's just
let's leave it with a moment of silence of appreciation of the beautiful film that it is.
Right, exactly.
To speak or to die.
Speak or to die, right. For me, and that's such a point in line as well. For me, all I'm going to say, all the listeners and the watchers and the readers, is that please watch Call Me By Your Name. Tell everyone you know to watch Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless of everything. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I'll call you guys in a little bit. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Speak soon. Bye.